They forgot how to read. One person, not one town, an entire civilization forgot how to read their own writing. By 400 AD, 8 million people who could once read Egyptian hieroglyphics became zero in just 400 years, 16 generations. Your great-great-great-grandfather could read? You can't, and nobody even noticed it was happening. This isn't a story about pyramids. This is a story about how an entire civilization forgot who they were, and it's happening again, right now. August 24th, 394 AD. A priest named Esmet Akom carved 13 words at the Temple of Philae. Esmet Akom have made this offering to Isis, the last hieroglyphic text ever written. After 3,000 years, silence. But here's what doesn't make sense. Egypt wasn't conquered in 394 AD, wasn't destroyed by plague, wasn't hit by natural disaster. The temples were still standing, the people were still alive. So what kills a civilization when nothing kills the people? For 200 years, historians asked the wrong question. They asked, who destroyed Egypt? Romans, Persians, Christians, Arabs? The evidence shows something more disturbing. Population in 30 BC, 8 million Egyptians. Population in 400 AD, 6 million Egyptians. Genetic continuity, 82% ancient Egyptian DN. Egypt didn't lose its people, it lost its memory. The Egyptians were still there, they just forgot they were Egyptian. And that forgetting, it followed a pattern we're repeating right now. The first symptom appeared around 1177 BC. Within 50 years, every major civilization in the Mediterranean collapsed. The Hittites, Mycenaean Greece, Troy, Babylon. Historians now admit they don't know why. Something cut the ancient world's throat, and we have no idea what. Egypt survived, but surviving was the worst thing that could have happened. Here's the disturbing part. Archaeological records show Egypt thrived after the collapse. More gold, more monuments, more temples, but that wealth was hiding something deadly, something that would kill them 1,000 years later. The Bronze Age collapse destroyed 90% of Mediterranean trade routes. Egypt had all the gold in the world, but nobody left to sell it to. When you can't trade, you can't innovate. When you can't innovate, you stagnate. Art historians analyzed 5,000 Egyptian artworks across 2,700 years. Result, 94% stylistic similarity for 27 centuries. That's not tradition. That's cultural rigor mortis. They were becoming a museum of themselves. And museums, they don't survive. They just collect dust. Egyptian knowledge was concentrated in one place. The priests' literacy rate in ancient Egypt, less than 3%. Who controlled all reading, writing, mathematics, medicine, astronomy? Priests. This made them powerful. But it also made the entire civilization fragile. One question determines if a civilization lives or dies. What happens when the people who hold all the knowledge stop teaching it? We're about to find out. 671 BC, Assyrians conquer Egypt. 525 BC. Persians conquer Egypt, 332 BC. Alexander conquers Egypt, 30 BC. Rome makes Egypt a province, but the evidence shows Egyptian culture survived all of them. Genetic studies prove in 300 BC, after 300 years of Greek rule, Egyptians were still 82% ethnically Egyptian. The Persians tried to erase it, failed. The Greeks tried to replace it, failed. The Romans tried to absorb it, failed. So what did kill it? Something that made people choose to forget. The answer: Christianity. Statistical evidence. 100 AD. 10% of Egypt Christian, 200 AD. 50% Christian, 300 AD. 75% Christian, 400 AD. 95% Christian. That's why Egyptian religion required you to be born Egyptian, learn hieroglyphics, pay temple fees. Profound truth: Egyptian civilization didn't die to force. It died to better marketing, building consequence. And when people converted, they stopped learning hieroglyphics. Why study a dead religion's writing? The cascade. That decision killed 3,000 years of knowledge. 350 AD. Estimated 5,000 people could read hieroglyphics 375 AD. 1,000 people 400 AD. 100 people 425 AD. Zero scale of loss. When the last priest who could read hieroglyphics died, 3,000 years of accumulated knowledge died with him. Medical texts describing brain surgery? Gone. Mathematical formulas? Gone. Astronomical observations spanning millennia? Gone. Engineering techniques we still can't reproduce? Gone. But it gets worse, because forgetting isn't passive. What happened next was active erasure. Archaeological surveys reveal 89% of temple statues had faces deliberately chiseled off, 76% of hieroglyphic inscriptions, scratched out 64% of walls carved over with Christian crosses. The Temple of Isis at Philae, defaced by Emperor Justinian in 537 AD. The Temple of Hathor, monks carved crosses over the goddess's face. the Colossi of Memnon, noses smashed by Byzantine Christians. But the worst destruction? The libraries. The Library of Alexandria burned 4 times. 48 BC, 273 AD, 391 AD, 641 AD. Estimated scrolls destroyed. 400,000 to 1 million. Every book ever written up to that point in history gone. Records show what we lost, all but 7 of Sophocles' 123 plays. Complete works proving Earth orbits the Sun, written in 270 BC, 17 centuries before Copernicus discovered it. Egyptian texts calculating pi to 256 decimal places. Maps showing continents we wouldn't discover for 1,000 years. How many times have we invented things that were actually reinventions? But we're making the same mistake right now. Christianity erased the old gods, but it didn't erase Egypt. For 250 years, Christian Egypt survived, still spoke Coptic, still Egyptian culture. Then 641 AD, Arab armies conquered Egypt in 2 years. 641 AD, 1% Muslim. 1000 AD, 70% Muslim. 1200 AD, 90% Muslim, new language. Arabic, new religion. Islam, new people through migration and intermarriage. DNA studies from 2017. Modern Egyptians are 77% Arab, only 8% ancient Egyptian. Egypt didn't just lose its civilization, it lost its people. By 1200 AD, Egyptians had no idea who built the pyramids. Medieval Arab historians claimed, built by giants, Joseph's granaries from the Bible, pre-flood treasure vaults. The actual truth, that their own ancestors built humanity's greatest monuments, was completely forgotten. Imagine Americans in 500 years thinking the Statue of Liberty was built by aliens? But we've been looking at this wrong. The real question isn't what killed Egypt. For 1,400 years, millions of hieroglyphic inscriptions covered Egypt. And for 1,400 years, not a single person could read them. Until 1799, a French soldier found the Rosetta stone. 23 years later, Champollion cracked the code. When Champollion finally decoded Ptolemy, he ran to his brother's office, shouted, "I've got it," and collapsed unconscious for 5 days. And then he read what the ancient Egyptians had written. Warnings. They knew they would be forgotten. Soon no one will remember the names of the gods. Egypt will become a land of strangers. They saw it coming and couldn't stop it. Now let me ask you something. How long will your hard drive last? Hard drives, 5 to 10 years. SSDs, 5 to 7 years. Cloud storage depends on company survival. Egyptian hieroglyphics in stone, 5,000 plus years. The Egyptians carved knowledge in the hardest material they had, and it still wasn't enough. We're storing hours in magnetic fields that disappear in a decade. But it's not just storage. We're forgetting how to remember. Fall to one religion, it fragmented traditional religion versus Christianity, Orthodox versus Coptic, Christianity versus Islam, Sunni versus Shia. Americans who say the country is more divided than ever. In 2004, 45%. In 2024, 88%. Egypt survived foreign conquest, economic collapse, the Bronze Age collapse. But it couldn't survive turning on itself. When a civilization fragments internally, it's already dead. It just doesn't know it yet. Egypt's collapse took 4 centuries. How fast could we collapse? Power grid failure recovery, 1 to 2 years. Internet collapse recovery, 6 months to 2 years. No electricity for 1 year, 90% urban death rate. Egypt had 4 centuries. We might have 4 months, because we're more interconnected, more dependent, more fragile. So here is how Egypt actually died. Follow the chain. 1. Bronze Age collapse isolates Egypt economically. 2. Isolation breeds stagnation. 2,700 years of identical art. 3. Knowledge concentrates in priest class only. 4. Christianity offers better value. People convert. 5. Priests stop teaching hieroglyphics. Language dies. 6. Arab Conquest replaces language and people. 7. Within 600 years, nobody remembers who they were. Knowledge concentration to system fragility to forgetting to extinction, and we're following the exact same path. What we're losing right now. 90% of Aboriginal Australian languages extinct or dying traditional medicine. One Indigenous doctor dies every hour. 75% of crop genetic diversity lost since 1900 digital decay. 25% of academic papers from 1990s already inaccessible. Media we can no longer read. 8-track tapes, laser discs, zip drives, mini disc, HD DVD. We're not preventing the Egyptian pattern, we're accelerating it. Archaeologists 3,000 years from now dig up our civilization. Concrete highways, plastic everywhere, corroded phones, our books, paper decayed, our photos, digital, gone. Our music, formats obsolete, our knowledge, magnetically erased. They'd think we were a civilization that built roads and made plastic. That's ET. We have more knowledge than Egypt. We might leave behind less, but we have one advantage. Egypt didn't. We know how civilizations die. We've studied every collapse in history. Internet Archive, 735 billion pages, preserved Svalbard seed fault, 1.25 million crop samples, Arctic World Archive, data in permafrost for 1,000 years. The Egyptians stored knowledge for priests only. We're trying to give it to everyone. We can choose not to forget, but only if we act. But preservation costs money. Global spending on cultural preservation, $20 billion annually. Global military spending, $2.2 trillion. We spend 110 times more on weapons than preserving all human knowledge. Call of Duty production budget, $300 million. Most nations' entire cultural preservation budget, less. But money isn't the real problem. The real problem is you and me. What are you doing to remember? Are you backing up your photos, reading to your children, learning your own history, teaching someone a skill, creating something lasting? Civilizations aren't governments. They're people, you, me. Every time you read a book to a child, you fight the forgetting. Every time you back up a photo, you preserve memory. Every time you teach someone, you pass knowledge forward. The Egyptians couldn't save theirs, but we can save ours one choice at a time. So why did Egyptian civilization disappear? Not war, not plague, not disaster. Economic isolation bred stagnation. Stagnation bred vulnerability. Vulnerability made people seek alternatives. Alternatives severed connection to the past. Severed connection meant forgetting. Forgetting meant extinction. Civilizations die when people forget who they are, when knowledge stops passing down, when connection to the past is severed, and we're following every single step. The ancient Egyptians saw it coming. They wrote warnings. Egypt will become a land of strangers who do not know us. They were right. They carved knowledge in stone, the hardest material they had, and it still wasn't enough. They did everything they could to be remembered, and we forgot them for 1,400 years. What makes you think we'll be remembered? Every civilization thinks it's eternal. Egypt ruled for 3,000 years. They thought they'd last forever. We've lasted 250 years, and we're already forgetting how to read. Egypt forgot in 400 years. How long do we have? The Egyptians had hieroglyphics on every wall. We have TikTok on every phone. Guess which one will last longer? The question isn't whether we'll be forgotten. The question is, are we worth remembering? 3,000 years of Egyptian wisdom carved in stone. Lost, forgotten, erased. We have more knowledge than any civilization in history, and it's stored in formats that will be unreadable in 10 years. The Egyptians at least left us pyramids. What are we leaving behind? What do you think was the real reason Egypt disappeared? And more importantly, are we next? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this made you uncomfortable about how fragile we really are, good. Share it with someone who needs to feel that discomfort. Civilizations only die when we stop remembering them. We forgot Egypt for 1,400 years. How long until someone forgets us?